When you look at a house, you rarely think about the concrete foundation that's buried down in the dirt.
Right, you're just looking at the surface stuff.
Exactly. You look at the paint, the windows, maybe the furniture. But if there is a crack in that invisible concrete, you don't just get a cracked floor.
No, the whole structure reacts.
Yeah, the doors stop closing right, the window jam, the roof sags. And if you don't know anything about foundations, I mean, you might spend years just sanding down the edges of your doors just to make them fit.
Or patching drywall that's just going to inevitably crack again the next time the ground settles.
Right.
You basically end up treating the symptom while completely ignoring the structural integrity. The real issue is, 10 feet underground, just operating silently, dictating the stability of literally everything you try to build on top of it.
And today, we are going deep underground to look at one of the most fundamental yet completely overlooked blueprints of human biology and psychology. Welcome to the deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Our mission today for you, the listener, is to radically rethink a universal biological milestone. We're talking about the first period, and we aren't going to look at this as just some medical or physical event that needs to be managed.
No, not at all.
The goal here is to explore it as a profound psychological, emotional, and energetic foundation that might just be dictating a person's entire life.
We actually have a deeply thought-provoking single source guiding this exploration today. It's a piece from the Sacred Return Journal, and it's written by Dr. Nomasanto Nutselling.
Right?
She is a sacred relationship healer, and she focuses on womb, emotional, and pattern healing. Her piece is titled, How You Experience Your First Period Carries Valuable Information for You.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the central premise here sounds almost like, time travel. Dr. Nutzel is asking you to consider a massive paradigm shift. What if the way you experience that one specific day, years or even decades ago, is currently dictating how you handle change today?
It's a huge question to ask yourself.
It really is. What if the environment of that single event is heavily influencing how you create, how you assert boundaries, and even how you manage your romantic relationships right now?
It demands that we completely zoom out. I mean, most of us are heavily conditioned to view menstruation as this mundane, sometimes annoying biological fact.
Yeah, just an inconvenience.
Exactly. It is treated as a physical inconvenience. But Dr. Nance forces us to look at the deep cultural and psychological significance of that specific milestone, completely stripping away that sterile clinical lens we usually view it through.
Let's talk about that cultural lens, actually, because she presents a view that is radically different from the typical Western experience.
Oh, for sure.
Which is usually just, quietly slipping a pad up your sleeve and hiding in a bathroom stall.
What's fascinating here is the stark contrast she draws between modern society's tendency to just kind of gloss over this event and her own cultural perspective.
Right.
In her culture, a girl starting her period is highly celebrated. It is actually considered the most important day in a girl child's development stage.
Right. Wow. The most important day.
Yeah. It is marked by Lonien, which is a coming-of-age ceremony. So the transition isn't hidden at all. It is actively acknowledged, witnessed, and honored by the entire community.
The psychological impact of being witnessed versus being hidden, that is huge. But the language she uses to describe what the body is actually doing on that day is what really caught my attention.
Oh, the phrasing is incredible.
She doesn't just reduce it to, oh, you can have a baby now.
Yeah.
She writes that starting menstruation is your body's signal that you are now a woman and that you are in a position to multiply.
Right.
But then she follows that up by saying, from this day onwards, your body multiplies and destroys at will.
That phrase alone fundamentally rewrites the entire narrative, multiplies and destroys at will.
It's so powerful.
Historically, the female body has been heavily associated with passivity in medical literature, things happening to it.
Right, like you're just a passenger.
Exactly. But that phrasing replaces passivity with immense active agency. It frames the body as possessing the ultimate creative and destructive power.
She even equates this biological milestone to having naturally activated your wealth codes. And I want to translate that a bit because wealth codes can sound a bit esoteric to some people.
Yeah, it can sound very abstract.
To me, she isn't talking about literal money in a bank account. She's talking about psychological capital. It makes me think about this like an internal operating system.
Okay, I like that.
Imagine you're just a standard user on a computer, right?
Yeah.
Playing games, browsing the web, and then suddenly, one day, your internal OS gets upgraded to developer mode.
Oh, I love that analogy.
You suddenly have root access. You have the power to write entirely new programs, to create life, to delete old files, to destroy what isn't working. You have autonomous authority over the system.
That analogy works perfectly because developer mode requires an entirely different level of responsibility and a deep understanding of the system. You have the keys to the mainframe now. You are a creator and a destroyer.
But the wild part is, no one hands you the instruction manual for developer mode.
No, not at all.
You just wake up one day, the new code is running in the background, and society expects you to just go to math class and act like nothing happened. You are carrying this immense new psychological and biological capacity, but you are forced to pretend you are still just a standard user.
Which brings us directly to the psychology of the initial imprint. The body doesn't just turn on developer mode in a vacuum.
Right.
It turns it on in a very specific environment, surrounded by very specific emotions and reactions from the people around you. Dr. Nensel points out that these initial environmental factors are rarely paid attention to, yet they carry the weight of your future behavioral patterns.
She actually lists 3 very specific questions for you to reflect on regarding your own experience. 1, who did you tell first?
That's a big one.
2, how did it feel in your body? And 3, how did you feel about it emotionally? The answers to those questions are the concrete poured into your foundation. They set the tone for your entire adult life because they dictate your baseline relationship with your own agency.
It sets the baseline.
Exactly. If we look at this through the lens of trauma and nervous system regulation, it aligns perfectly with the concept that the body keeps the score. Your nervous system basically took a snapshot of how safe it was to hold power on that specific day.
So if your introduction to your own power to that developer mode was shrouded in shame or secrecy or fear, that becomes your baseline for handling any kind of creative power or change later in life.
Yes.
If you hid your first period because you felt dirty or embarrassed, the mechanism at play is that your nervous system associates new power with threat.
Right. It feels dangerous.
So when you go to start a new business or ask for a raise, your body defaults to that original blueprint. You hide your power because your body literally thinks hiding is what keeps you safe. That is the exact mechanism. Dr. Nensel writes that energy never lies, and you take yourself with everywhere you go. If you don't bring conscious awareness to this foundational blueprint, you will blindly repeat the exact same behavioral loops.
You just keep running the old software.
Precisely. You activated your ability to meet change on that day. However you met change then is the neurobiological pathway you will default to when meeting change now.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Dr. Nensel gives a highly specific piece of advice for you to test this out and connect with that foundational energy.
Yeah, this part is fascinating.
She says you should pay attention to yourself on the day of the month that is equivalent to the age you were when you had your first period.
It is a very unique metric for self-observation.
Wait, let me push back on this a second because my skeptical brain is flashing a warning light here.
Sure, go ahead.
The advice is, if you were 12 years old when you started your period, you should pay close attention to your energy and emotions on the 12th of every month. I understand tracking a biological cycle, but how on earth does my internal biology know a Gregorian calendar date? I mean, is she implying the body literally tracks the calendar?
It is a completely fair question, and no, the answer isn't that your ovaries are reading a wall calendar.
Okay, good.
We need to view this as a somatic and psychological anchoring tool. In psychology, we often use specific cues to intentionally sync your current conscious awareness with a past developmental stage.
Ah, I see.
By picking the calendar date that matches your age of activation, you are creating a predictable, recurring appointment to check in with that specific version of yourself. It forces you to pause and ask, how is my 12-year-old self reacting to my current adult challenges today? It's a structured way to bypass the busy adult mind and check the emotional weather of your foundation.
Okay, that makes so much sense. So it isn't about biological magic at all. It is a disciplined framework for shadow work. By creating that dedicated space, you might notice that on the 12th, you always feel incredibly anxious about asserting boundaries, which points right back to the anxiety of that original age.
Precisely.
Yes.
It is an invitation to interview the architect of your foundation.
If the body holds on to the initial psychological trauma of that first period so tightly, It makes me wonder how the body reacts to the ongoing monthly trauma of being completely ignored.
It's massive.
Because if we are carrying this activated capacity to multiply and destroy, the physical toll of that process must be huge. Yet modern society completely dismisses it.
The modern approach is highly dismissive.
Right.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Dr. Nansel shares a cultural perspective that provides a radical alternative to our relentless hustle culture.
Right.
In her tradition, a menstruating woman and a woman who has just given birth to a child are treated the exact same way.
I literally had to read that line twice. A menstruating woman treated with the same reverence as someone who is postpartum.
It represents a deep understanding of biological reality. They are given time to rest. They are explicitly treated as special and are completely excluded from doing household chores.
Wow.
The logic here isn't that the woman is weak or sick. The logic is that the body is doing something profoundly sacred and biologically demanding internally.
Yeah.
There's a massive amount of internal labor happening. Tissue is breaking down, hormones are plunging, the immune system is actively engaged, the body is working overtime, so it desperately needs external rest to facilitate that internal work.
We have so completely lost this. The metaphor that comes to mind isn't a car engine, because that implies, mechanical endurance.
Right, it's not just a machine.
It is more like your smartphone forcing a massive critical iOS update. The screen goes black, the gears are spinning, the system is fundamentally rewriting itself. But modern society expects you to just keep using the GPS, making conference calls, and streaming video while the update is happening. If you try to force a computer to perform heavy external tasks while it's rebuilding its operating system, the system crashes. The battery dies.
That is exactly what happens physiologically. Dr. Natsel points out something historically vital regarding how we got here. The idea of viewing periods as dirty, which is the primary excuse used to hide them and ignore the need for rest, is a distorted version of reality brought about by colonization.
It inverted the narrative entirely. What was originally seen and honored as a time of necessary, biologically intensive rest was warped into something shameful.
Completely shameful.
And when you view a biological process as unclean, you don't honor it. You try to scrub it away. You take a painkiller, put on a smile, and work a 10-hour shift just to prove that your biology isn't slowing you down.
And that chronic denial of rest creates a devastating physiological stress loop. Dr. Nitzel emphasizes that rest is actually the most powerful way of naturally healing the womb.
Just rest.
Just resting. When you deny the rest, you deny the healing. You are forcing the body to operate in a state of high inflammation and stress.
So what does this all mean? If we are talking about a stress foundation and a chronic denial of physical rest, how does that actually spill over into other seemingly unrelated areas of life?
It spills over in huge ways.
Because Dr. Nansel takes this biological issue and connects it directly to romance and dating, which seems like quite a leap at first glance.
It does seem like a leap until you really look at the underlying mechanisms of behavior. Dr. Nansel unpacks these observations from her healing practice, which she explores deeply in her book, Heal Your Love Story.
Okay.
She notices a distinct pattern. Many of her clients who tend to mother their romantic partners actually have what she calls mother wounds.
Oh, we all know that dynamic. Someone who does their partner's laundry, manages their schedule, tries to fix them or raise them instead of just being in an equal partnership.
It is an exhausting one-sided dynamic. The psychological origin is clear. A child first learns about love and how to safely attach to another human from their mother.
Right.
If that foundational relationship is wounded, if love was conditional, or if the child had to literally take care of the mother that distorts how they give and receive love as an adult, they equate love with hypervigilance and caretaking.
Because that's what kept them safe as kids.
Exactly. But the truly fascinating part of Dr. Netzel's work is her finding that as these women heal their relationship with their mothers, their love lives naturally improve, and simultaneously, their physical womb issues improve as well.
Let me try to map out the actual mechanism there, because it's easy to just say, oh, it's all connected energy, but there has to be a physiological bridge, right?
Oh, there absolutely is.
If you are constantly mothering a partner, you are existing in a state of chronic hypervigilance. You are always managing someone else's life, which means your nervous system is likely trapped in a low-grade fight-or-flight state.
Constantly.
And that means chronic cortisol production.
You are hitting on the exact biological pathway. When your body is constantly producing stress hormones like cortisol because you are emotionally overextended, it actively disrupts your reproductive hormones. Cortisol can actually suppress progesterone production.
Wow, literally suppressing it.
Yes. Furthermore, chronic emotional stress often manifests physically as tension in the pelvic floor. The nervous system doesn't differentiate between the stress of running from a predator and the stress of managing a dysfunctional relationship.
So, by setting a boundary in your romantic relationship, by stopping the mothering behavior, you are literally down-regulating your nervous system.
Yes.
You turn off the cortisol drip. And when the nervous system finally feels safe, the physical tension in the pelvic floor releases and the reproductive hormones can regulate. The emotional boundary physically heals the womb.
That is the profound interconnectedness Dr. Netzel was pointing to. She writes, while we think life is separate, the truth of the matter is that everything is interconnected.
It's all one system.
You cannot compartmentalize the physiological stress of your romantic relationships from the emotional legacy of your mother or from the physical health of your body. A wound in one area drains the resources from the entire system. Healing the emotional boundary provides the physical safety the body needs to repair itself.
If we accept this, if we see how the initial psychological imprint, the lack of rest, and these behavioral loops are all cracking the foundation, how do we actually go about fixing it?
That's the big question.
I appreciate that Dr. Nassel turns to nature for the answer here, reminding us that nature isn't random. It is a highly intelligent science.
It operates on an irrefutable logic.
She uses these beautiful grounding analogies. A tree knows exactly which season to produce its fruit. It doesn't force apples in the dead of winter.
Right.
A river knows exactly which direction to flow downwards, yielding to gravity. In that exact same way, your body already holds the blueprint for healing. It inherently knows how to release whatever is no longer of use to it.
This raises an important question, though. If nature knows exactly what to do, and our bodies are fundamentally part of nature, why do we experience so much physical pain and emotional disconnect? Why are we fighting gravity?
Why is it so hard?
Exactly. Dr. Nansel says it plainly. It's not because nature doesn't tell you what to do, it's because you are aggressively not paying attention. We are actively ignoring the natural science happening inside of us.
We just push right past it.
We push through winter demanding summer fruit. But the empowering part of her message is that the moment we start paying attention, we can begin to repair the structure.
Which brings us back to that architecture analogy from earlier. When people realize their foundation is cracked, when they see their relationships failing or their health struggling, the immediate instinct is panic.
Complete panic.
Dr. Nansel writes that you might look at the cracks and think you have to tear the entire house down. You think the only solution is to blow up your life, quit your job, end every relationship, and start completely over from scratch.
That is the illusion of overwhelm. When you don't understand the foundation, the whole house feels uniquely compromised.
But as she points out, if you hire a foundation expert, they don't bulldoze the house. They literally get under there, jack up the floorboards, repair the concrete, and set the house safely back down.
Right. The house stays intact.
The structure you've built remains, but the stability is finally restored. But that requires specialized, precise work. It isn't just slapping a coat of paint on it. It's somatic therapy. It's shadow work. It's deeply uncomfortable introspection.
Which is exactly why she advocates for reaching out for help.
Yeah.
She notes, this is why we hire people and learn from them, because you do not always have to learn the hard way.
You really don't.
You don't have to let the house collapse on you to realize the concrete needed work. You can work with a guide, whether that's a healer, a therapist, or a medical professional, to address those deep, unseen cracks without destroying the life you've built.
We have covered incredible ground today. We started by exploring the psychological difference between hiding a milestone and the cultural reverence of the Lonian ceremony.
A huge shift in perspective.
We unpacked how that first period acts as the activation of your developer mode, laying the blueprint for how your nervous system handles power and change. We mapped the biological bridge between healing a mother wound and downregulating the nervous system to heal the body.
And we talked about resting during that iOS update.
Yes. Most importantly, I hope you walk away with the understanding that rest isn't a luxury. It is a biological imperative, especially when your internal operating system is demanding an update. Start paying attention to your body's inherent science.
And I want to leave you with the final thought to mull over, extending this concept beyond what we've discussed today. If the specific environment of your first period set your foundational blueprint for how you handle change and to skirt your creative agency, what other early firsts in your life might be secretly operating as the silent architects of your current reality?
Oh, that's a great question.
How did the way you were treated during a first major failure set your baseline for risk-taking today? How did your first heartbreak permanently wire your nervous system's response to vulnerability.
Are those early foundations actually supporting the house you want to live in today? If you're seeing doors that won't close and cracks in the drywall of your life, maybe it's time to stop sanding the edges. It might be time to grab a flashlight and finally take a look at the concrete underground. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.